All right, we are live. Welcome to Insert More Coins. I am with the fantastic author Sean O'Boyle with his book, The Ballad of Spricket the Bard. There we go.
There we go. Although my camera is
Yeah.
inverted, so it's backwards.
So, how's it going today, buddy?
Yes, good. Yeah, I've just logged off of work. On it's Friday evening. I've got the weekend to look forward to, so I'm doing pretty okay. How about you?
Pretty good. I'm about the same way. Just got home like 45 minutes ago and ran and grabbed a quick bite to eat and then ran
Yeah.
upstairs. As I got to get this going. So, we got Tim in here. What's going on,
Hello,
Tim?
Tim.
Have you seen his cover? I'm sure you have of his book that he just come out with a couple weeks ago.
I think so. Yeah, I
That
see
thing
so
is
many wonderful
so sick.
covers. Yeah, I got to look that one up properly. But yeah,
It
no,
is so
I'm sure I have.
nice. Oh, well, let's see. So, you want to tell us a little bit about Spricket?
Yes, absolutely. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sean O'Boyle. I am an Irish, London-based writer. And it's actually nearly been a year now. I self-published my first book, which is called The Ballad of Spricket the Bard and Company. I would describe it as like a fantasy comedy adventure. I know lots of people like to do this book meets this book. I would say it's like Terry Pratchett's Discworld meets the Lies of Loch Lamora. So you've got sort of the schemes and the double crossings and all that kind of stuff of a Lies of Loch Lamora book, but then you've got like the silliness and the wackiness and the humor of Discworld. So that is how I would describe it. It's a book about the titular character Spricket the Bard, who is your run of the mill bard. He loves music. He loves swindling. He loves schemes, and he gets caught up in a quest. And the only way he can fulfill that quest is by pulling along on the help of two very very reluctant allies. I would call them a brute called Torg, who is sort of like a kind of hulking kind of orcish creature, and then a girl called Taliu, who is a sort of a sort of a bare knuckle brawler type, and the two of them have to kind of cobble together and get across this land to fulfill a promise that he's made to an old friend, and there's plenty of twists and turns and city moments, and I think in some degrees a fairly touching backstory as well. But it's a book I'm very very proud of, and it's been well received so far in the indie space, and hopefully that may continue.
Yes, I really enjoyed this book. Spricket's hilarious, and then just and the turn that Torque made, I thought that was really awesome.
Yeah.
It was good. I got Bella in here. What's up,
Yeah.
Bella?
Hi, Bella. Yeah, the thing with the book is when I wrote the book, the character of Torg didn't even exist. When I came up with the idea of the character, but as I was writing the book, I was like, I need someone who's like the direct opposite to Spricket, to kind of so they can bounce off one another. And Torg turned out to be probably my favorite character in the whole book, and I think a lot of people have resonated really really well with Torg. So I'm excited for them to see where I should take him next. So
Yes, I think it left on a very nice cliffhanger as well.
mm,
So I'm very much excited about that too because like it's just the adventure they went on. I thought was really good. I'm not big on personally in my own reading books.
mm,
A lot of like story that goes with like okay they go through the forest forever and one or two things happen, but this one yours had like it would stop and they'd stop and something would happen there and then they go a little further and then something would happen there and then but my favorite was definitely them meeting the two people at their house.
oh, you say no more, no spoilers. But
Yeah,
yes, yes,
yeah.
yes.
That was
That,
so good.
yeah, yeah. Well, thank
Uh,
you very much. Yeah, that was a part I'm very especially proud of. Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So what inspired you to write your book?
Well, it's a number of things really. I've always, from like a young age, been very much the type of person to kind of try different creative things. Like when I was a kid, I would write loads of little short stories in my school, copy books. I would draw comics. Then when I got a little bit older and I had like internet, I was able to like make videos and put them up on YouTube, and I made lots of little like sketches with my brothers on an old YouTube channel that's been forgotten to time. And then when I went to university, or college, as you guys call it, I joined like a comedy club, and I did a bit of stand-up comedy, and I got into writing sketch comedy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I really started to like exercise this kind of comedic muscle, and I really enjoyed doing that. And then I kind of graduated, got the day job, and from there, sort of all the kind of that creative stuff fell to the wayside. But I would dip in and out every so often. I'd write like a short film, etc., etc. And then pandemic hit. And at that time, we're all locked indoors. And me and my friends, we decided to like get into Pathfinder, which is like D&D, like a tabletop RPG. I would say that Pathfinder is like D&D if it had more annoying rules. Is how I would describe it.
Okay.
And I made a bard character. Everyone else was one person was a fighter, one was a mage, one was a rogue or a ranger. And I said, well, I'll pick the bard then. And I was said, oh, I would have liked to have played as the tank or the fighter, but I played as the bard, and I soon discovered that actually it was a lot of fun because bards aren't very good at fighting, but they're very good at like deception and speech, and they can use their music to influence people, etc., etc. So I just kind of really enjoyed playing as that character, and then I just off the back of it, just started writing, and I wrote a little short story that became the first few chapters of Spricket the Bard and Company in a very, very early rough stage. In fact, his original name wasn't even Spricket. His original name was Fidget, but I thought that, but I decided to change that because I thought Fidget sounded too much like a character from like a children's book. So I went Spricket and sort of kind of went with that one. As also, it's a very fun word to say, Spricket, and it kind of brings about like what you'd imagine a person called Spricket would be like. So I think kind of that playful energy is there. And then I wrote it, and like many of my creative projects, I wrote a little bit and I put it in the drawer and I moved on to the next thing. But what I found was more so than any other creative project I've done, and thank you, Tim, Spricket is a fun name, is I couldn't stop thinking about it. I couldn't stop. There were times where I would be on a walk or on a run or bored at work, and my mind would just drift, and I would just start thinking about, well, where else could this short story go? What would happen next? And then what was Spricket's childhood like? And then I kind of just formulated the whole story in my head over the course of a year, but didn't write a single word. Then the following year, I got COVID, and I was stuck in my house, and I was like, well, I'm not just going to sit here and like waste time like playing games or watching films like everyone had been doing for most of COVID anyway. I mean, you were on the roads, maybe you weren't, but I was like, I need to do something with this dead time, and so I just picked it up and I started writing, and I didn't stop, and then lo and behold, this is the book that I self-published just last year. So yeah, that's sort of a comprehensive history of how this book came to be.
That's awesome. It seems it's crazy to me how a lot of people start writing off of like wild things, like say, like you said, like D&D or Pathfinder. And then I think, was it Dave Lawson that also wrote off of a D&D character? So it's a very
common pathway. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like, even, let's see, I interviewed Ryan Skiffington, and he had talked about, he just got a random idea coming home from a football game. It was like, I think I'll write a book. And then it just happens like that. That always amazes me. Some of the stories that authors have on just like random things that happen, and they're like, I'm going to write a book about that.
Inspiration can come from anywhere. Yeah. And when it hits you and you're like, that's a great idea, and it'll never leave you. To quote a bit of writing advice from Stephen King, a notebook is the best place for an author to put all their bad ideas, because if an idea is good enough, you will obsess over it in your mind. It'll never leave you, and those are the ones you need to follow. That's the path to go down, because if you're excited about it, you're going to write a story that's very engaging, and then other people will also enjoy it. So,
yeah. Is that what you do? Like, do you like write down just random ideas, or do you like
So
always?
I think you get plotters and pantsers. I would say
Hmm.
I'm a bit more of a what's called a plantser, something in the middle. So I don't outline every single chapter. I will outline like 4 or 5 main beats that need to happen in the story.
No.
But then how my characters get from A to B or C to D, that's where I can kind of that'll come out on the day. I'll have a bit of fun. I sort of what would Spricket say in the situation? How would Talia react to that? What would Torg say? And just kind of have them kind of do their squabbling, and then they get to that exciting bit, and then right from there. So it's kind of a mixture of both. I would say for I'm currently writing the sequel. There's definitely a lot more plotting going into that because now I'm thinking not just the next book, but the book after. Hopefully, if I ever get there. So I'm trying to make sure that everything makes a little bit more sense. So where Spricket One was a little bit more of just like write the page, see where it goes. I think the subsequent books there's going to be a little bit more thought to it and a little less of me rereading something I wrote months ago and being like, "What? Where the hell was it going with this?" So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
That and you being in the middle is pretty neat because like I watched some of like Brendan Sanderson stuff, and
Mm.
seems like an extreme outliner. So like he's working on, I think he had said like the third Mistborn Era series, but he's literally writing all three of them in a year, and then going to go back and fix them because of all the outlining that he's done. But then
Yes,
also like Nick Horvath purposely writes his character into a dilemma that takes him time to figure his way out of. It's
yeah,
like, okay,
yeah,
I'm stuck in this situation. How do you get out? And what he told me, it takes him sometimes 2, 3, 4 weeks to think in his mind how to get out of a situation.
yeah. I think I would definitely be more Nick's camp there, because I think. But listen, this is the eternal debate on every Reddit thread, every Twitter thread. What's better, plotting or pantsing? And I think each have their own value. If you're
Yeah,
Brandon Sanderson and you have a big wide Cosmere to come up with, you need to be everything. You must be moving the chessboard at all times. You need to know each plan 3 moves
yeah,
out. Um, but for some of us, in maybe I don't know, I'm not really sure what I've not actually read any mixed books, but if you're not in that kind of space, it's fun for the writer to figure out
yeah,
where because you write a book because you want people to read it, but at the same time the first person you write the book for should always be yourself. Like, what do you think
yeah,
is fun? What do I think is cool? That's going to go in the book.
yeah. And that makes sense too, because if you're writing something and you don't enjoy it, then why, for one, why are you writing it? And then what purpose does it serve? So
Exactly. There's many times where I've written a passage or a chapter and I'm writing it and I'm bored writing it. And like I said, well, if I'm bored writing this chapter, someone's going to close the book and not read on. So it's like, yeah,
yeah. And then even like you talk about like Sanderson as well, having to plot out so much. I mean, when you're talking what he's got 20 something books and the Cosmere alone, if you don't plot out so far ahead, then things are going to overlap and it's going to be like this makes no sense because of what you did 3 books
yes,
ago.
yes,
Um,
exactly.
so what influenced you to become an author?
Um, I would, on the topic of Sanderson, it honestly would be him. So I again during the deep dark depths of COVID and lockdown, I got into reading because I think we were discussing a little bit before the call about how you felt like, oh, I don't really play any video games, didn't really want to play, so I picked up a book. That was sort of what happened with Way of Kings, which is the first Sanderson
Okay.
book I ever read, and
Oh
I was
wow.
just engrossed, and I was
Yeah.
I've never been so engrossed in a book before in my life. And then from there, I hopped to other series, Wheel of Time, Discworld, and these books just like brought like they honestly I love them so much, and then I was like, well, I want to have a go at this myself, and that's when I started Spricket. But I think I'd be lying if I said it was only other books and other authors that inspired me to write. There's films I love, there's games I love, there's songs I love. That so I think I'm always I pull inspiration from wherever I can find it. So it's not always one set thing or one set author. It's always a combination of all the different kinds of art I'm sort of enjoying out there. So
Yeah. You said that you read Wheel of Time. I've not. Do you recommend it?
do I recommend Wheel of Time? So on the whole, I would say yes, I recommend Wheel of Time.
Okay.
I recommend it because it is the most comprehensive, well thought out fantasy tale I think I've ever read. And don't get me wrong, there are bits. You've heard of the
Yeah.
slog, obviously. I won't
Slog.
say any more.
Yeah.
That exists, yes, but I think that is like a speed bump between the great of the beginning and the amazing of the end, and it ends exceptionally well. I'm
That's
sure.
what
I'm
I've
sure
heard.
you've
Like the
heard
whole
that.
last book is like nothing but a battle, ain't it? Is that what I
Yes,
heard? That's what
essentially,
I
it's just
thought.
one. It's a 900
Yeah.
page battle. Yes, yes, it is. But
That-
Jordan's prose is incredible. He People often make jokes in the community. Oh, he'll spend a page describing a room, but I think it's especially the Eye of the World where the pace is a bit slower. Like you just feel like you're there with the characters, and you get like it's like prose and descriptions that touch on all senses, and you just feel like you're in that space, and it heightens everything. So then when the stakes get big, when the big fantastical battles happen, it's within this world that you've built up in your head. So
Yeah.
I would recommend it, and I think if you're a patient reader, I think you'll get through
Yeah.
Wheel of Time, and I absolutely echo what Tim is
Yeah.
saying there. Like,
Yeah.
there are people who would hate it, but then there are people who would love it, and I feel like you'd be the kind of person that would enjoy it.
Yeah.
So,
Spanking. So much spanking.
yeah, there's quite a bit of spanking. Yeah, Robert Jordan has his quirks about him.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say.
Yeah. I had have you watched the TV series of it?
Yes, I have watched TV series of it, and
Is it terrible? I
is it
watched
terrible?
I watched the very first episode, and that was it because I was like, I feel like I'm going to read it one day, and I don't want to watch this and it ruin the books for me. But
That's so how would I describe the show as? I would say the show is like a 6 to 7 out of 10. There's very polarizing opinions about it online. It's the worst thing ever written. You're destroying Jordan's legacy. Some people saying, actually, no, it's doing things in an interesting way. I think there's some good and there's some not so good. So I would say if you're intending to read the books, don't watch the show, because they do a lot of tightening of certain arcs and putting characters in different spaces, because for a TV show, it makes sense that we need to condense this 14-book series into maybe eight seasons of TV. So that might like muddy your idea of the book. So I wouldn't recommend like reading the first book and watching the first season, because they'll put an announcement from book 2 and book 3 are kind of peppered in there. So I would say read the series first, as far as maybe book 7 or 8, and then maybe watch the show if you're that pushed. But at the same time, there's far better TV in general than Wheel of Time. Like, for example, Severance. If that's probably the best show on TV at the moment.
I don't have Apple TV, but I've heard it is absolutely incredible. I may get it just to watch that.
That's why I got it, and I didn't. Hello, already overbooked.
What's up, Josh? That's Josh.
Josh.
Bella wants to know, which is your favorite book character, or better yet, do you identify with any of your characters?
Great question, Bella. So I would say Torg is my favorite character, and was not a character I was expecting to be my favorite. I love all my characters, but he stands out. I think, this also answers your second question there, Bella. I do think that like the main trio of Spricket, Torg, and Taliu, that each of them represent a part of me. So Spricket is my more like kind of playful kind of jokey side, and then Torg is my more kind of serious side, where sometimes if things go wrong, or if you have to do something kind of not quite so fun, confront a difficult situation, Torg is the kind of person I want to be, just very direct and sort of no hesitation on certain decisions, and then Talia was sort of the side of me that's more like kind of a bit of a go-getter, and is laid back about things, where I'm not so laid back about things, and I overthink things, or I get anxious about certain decisions in life. So I think each three of them have a part of me that kind of I aspire to have. I want to be as funny as Spricket, but I also want to be as responsible as Torg, but I also want to be as kind of bullheaded as Talia sometimes. So yeah, I think all three of them, there's bits of me in there.
Yeah. Okay. That was a good question. See, Tim said how to read the books before watching the series, but I can appreciate the series overall.
I think it's fair.
And then there's only one episode out of both. Season 1 finale. Okay. Yeah, it is. I definitely want to try it but what makes me nervous with it, of course, is the 15-book series, or 14 or 15. And just reading the Cosmere nearly wiped me out on anything huge.
Yeah, I can well imagine. And listen, you take your time with it. Don't rush through it. I'll be honest. It took me nearly 2 years to read all of Wheel of Time, and
that's what I feel like I would rather do, anyways. Just because I was trying to get that done for Wind and Truth, because it's a big book this year.
Yes.
And now after going through it all, I'm like, it probably would have been better if I'd have took my time, because of how, for one, disappointed I was in Wind and Truth. But other than
that, you're touching on a very, very sensitive topic there, Rowdy. The secret scribes in the Discord have heard my thoughts on Wind and Truth, and I think I'm more on your side of things. I don't want to.
Hey, I get it. I'm coming at it from a different angle, like I said, because I've read every single one of the Cosmere books in basically 9 months. I mean, I didn't start till March and then finished Wind and Truth in December. So going from book to book to book to book, I picked, because there's some of these, like, I cannot stand Warbreaker. I think it's terrible. I think Elantris is terrible. I can't help it, and I know a lot of that's blasphemy for a lot of people, but
of course,
I just can't. And so bad. And then you got to Rhythm of War, and I loved Words of Radiance. It's the best book I've ever read so far. Oathbringer was right up there with it too. I thought it was fantastic. And then just the straight down slide of Rhythm of War, and then on to Wind and Truth, which I thought should have been wrapped up way better than it was. And it shouldn't have been no more than 1,000 pages. Personal opinion.
Yeah. No, I would agree. I would agree. And I don't think we're alone in that.
No.
I don't want to obviously spend the time here talking too much about this, but I just think the hype is starting to settle a little bit, because the book only came out in December. I think we'll start to see a bit more conversation about this going forward, but it's just sad when it starts so strong, doesn't quite hit the mark, and that's something that, like, I fear, like I'm like, what if I write Spricker 2 and nobody likes it, so or what if I go the wrong way, so I think it's definitely given a lot of people in that space a bit of pause about themselves, and not. I think the one takeaway from there is not to stretch yourself too thin. Right, you're only one person, and you can only do so much. So I see lots of indie authors out there that are writing, wonderful series, but they might like suddenly be writing another series at the same time in a different genre completely, and I think I subscribed to just focus on one at a time, but it works for some, not so much for others. But yeah,
there we go.
Hi, Lorraine.
Hello. Yeah, it is. Do you think that's a good idea? Like, far as authors doing like say if you do 2 series, do the same in the same genre, or do you feel better of doing 2 things totally different to where it never really overlaps?
For now, I'm keeping everything in the one world. Just because I'm still very new to this. I'm very green as an author. So I want to work my muscle a bit more and become a better writer. The novella that I've written that will be out sometime over the summer. Like that I would say that is a better book than Spricket, because I've become a better writer since Spricket, and then I hope that Spricket 2 will be a better book than Nevada, because I've become a better writer since then.
Yeah.
But I want to. I think part of it for me as well is I'm awful for being a person who never quite sees things through to the end, and I want this to be my challenge job. I've got a few books in mind for Spricket and company. I want to see it through to the end before I move on to the next thing. And trust me, I've got ideas for other books and other genres. Of course, who doesn't when you're a writer? The mind pops all the time, but I think you've got to sort of there's got to be a bit of discipline there at the same time. And you've got to do the, I think, how do I put it at once? You got to do the not so fun writing before you can do the fun writing. So, before you get to that really exciting action scene, you need to do all the kind of build up and the exposition and getting to that point. I know some writers like to I'll fill in the blanks on this particular bit in the next draft, and then I get to the fun thing. I'm more of like, no, you need to kind of work up to that. Number one, because it'll help you make that exciting part a bit more rewarding for yourself as a writer, and number two, it'll just make more sense. And when you go back to do that edit after that kind of first draft.
Yeah. Then we got Bella overthinking about the next book is classic. How do you deal with the imposter dragon? What is your top tip?
So the imposter syndrome dragon is unslayable. You cannot kill it. You can sort of dissuade it. You can discourage it. You can hide from it, but it'll always come back. And I think the top tip is just never forget what you have achieved. So for those of you who have written and yet to be published, whether self or traditionally published, if you've got a full manuscript, just say I've written a full I'm capable of writing a full manuscript. When I get a little bit nervous about sales or get a little bit nervous about my book's reception, I always think about the fact that you're fresh off on the scene. You've sold this many books. You have this many reviews. They're mostly all positive. You were in Spiffbo for a bit. People read, people enjoy it. So I think it's just kind of reminding yourself that that you are good and you do have value. You just kind of have to battle with yourself and keep that dragon away as much as possible.
Yeah, I think I'd read somewhere that I forgot who it was that said it, but it was something like all the great ideas have already been written. It's just you have to take the idea and make it your own, and that's what makes it your own thing, and people will love it like that.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. This is not the first book written about a bard, and it won't be the last. So, but it's just about finding the you and you. And I think sometimes people get so hung up on originality that they forget about just writing a fun story. And at the end of the day, your average reader is not going to kind of worry too much about originality, as long as it's a story that they enjoy and characters they can connect with. It's like that one meme where it's like someone making a cake and saying, "Oh, my cake isn't going to be good as this other guy's cake," and then it jumps to the guy who's like, "Oh, I got 2 cakes," because the end user, the reader of your book, so long as it's a cohesive narrative, they're not going to this is like Discworld, or this is like Lord of the Rings. They're not going to care about that song
but to me that doesn't make any sense. Like even if it's like that, those books, last I checked, are some of the greatest ever. So it's kind of like even with Dragon Rider fantasy, there's thousands of Dragon Rider fantasy books. They're great. It's if you tell a good story, that's all that matters. I mean, that's the whole
absolutely.
point.
And I went to a fantasy con panel in the UK. So we got the British Fantasy Society. I went to one of the panels a couple of years ago. I went to a writing comedy and fantasy panel. And some of the panelists were like, "Oh yeah, we always get compared to Terry Pratchett," and as if it was a negative thing. But I thought to myself, for most people, Terry Pratchett is the only reference for comedic fantasy. And if they're comparing your work to his, that is the biggest compliment ever. That is like someone saying to Ryan Cahill, "Your books are exactly like Christopher Paolini's," or to Rob R.E. Sanders, "Your books are just like Robert Jordan's." Like I'd be thrilled with the
it's
with that kind of feedback. So
they're comparing me to one of the greatest authors of all time, like one of the biggest sellers. Okay,
I'll take that.
yeah,
That's on the back
exactly,
of the book stamp. Yeah,
exactly. I mean that
yeah.
I don't understand that. Like, who cares? Like, I would rather you tell me that I'm like one of them than some nobody that nobody you don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't. Some of that just don't make sense.
Own your influences is what I would say. Don't
Yeah.
don't try and pretend that you haven't been influenced, because everyone is influenced by the art they write.
Yeah. I haven't read any of Terry's. I have only attempted to read. You've probably read more than me. I've only attempted to read Small Gods, and I did not like that. But later, I heard that is not the best to start with. Probably like Guards or something like that is supposed to be fantastic.
That's really interesting. So I would agree. Yes, Guards or Mort are the two best entry points.
Yeah.
A lot of people like to read publication date, but I think with Discworld, because each book is much its own thing, you can read out of order. So Guard is the best entry point, I think, because it's in one setting, the city of Ankh-Morpork. It's basically a detective crime novel with in a fantasy setting, and it's a lot of fun. And the subsequent Guards books, like Men at Arms and Feet of Clay, like they're really, really good books, and the characters just get better and better. Having said that, my favorite Discworld novel is Small Gods.
Really?
Because once you read a couple and you kind of get into that world, it becomes you can appreciate the novel more. I wouldn't start on Small Gods because it's just so out there, but it's a really fun satire on like the interplay between faith and religion as an institution. It's a really interesting like kind of play on that, and I was laughing a lot in that book, and also I think the best thing about like a Pratchett novel is that they make you kind of think. It's sort of like I know this is a bit of a crude example, but certain episodes of South Park, okay, they're vulgar and they're silly, but they're generally about a certain topic that makes you think about them. So I think that's the best satire out there, is the ones where it makes you really kind of think.
I'd heard also that I think Going Postal might be another one that's really good too.
Yes. So those were more of his later ones. So I'm trying to read all the ones he wrote in the 90s before getting to the 2000s. But
they had I'd watched a little of I think it's Mike's book reviews, and someone had sent him 5 books, and he tried, and everyone was like on his like Discord and all. It's like, you cannot read publication order on Discworld. It's like, you just can't. It will not. And he read the first 2 books, and he's like, "You're right. It's terrible." So he moved on to the others, and I think he started liking them from there. But it was like, you just cannot in that series. So
he's probably. I think he was the YouTuber I was watching when I read each Wheel of Time book. He had a review, so I was kind of doing it along with him.
Yeah, I think that's what he had started with was Wheel of Time stuff. He was liking it and started making videos from it.
Yeah.
No, I've I know you talked about you've read it all. Have you read any Malazan or Malazan, however you say it?
Malazan. That is so. Technically, I have every Malazan book on my Kindle.
I'm collecting them right now. I have the first 4. I've not read nothing though.
There was a humble bundle where you could buy all the Malazan books for $20, so I bought them all.
What?
And then you could buy. So I have them. However, I lost my Kindle and therefore lost those books. So I think I can get them back. I think I just got to find my key on the email. I should be able to get them back. That being said, though, I think I might just buy the first one in paperback, because I generally prefer to read paperback versus Kindle. So I might just get, I think it's called Gardens of the Moon or something, the first one.
It is.
But I've got a friend of mine who is I've known this guy for goodness 10 years now. I became friends in college, and he when I met him, he was like reading Malazan, like he was like halfway through it, and then I think he finished the series about 5 years ago. So it's dense. So that will probably be my next big series to tackle, but probably not for quite some time, because I'm reading one of the Scribes books, Lamia's one, Wingspan of Treason, and then I want to read a couple of shorter books, and then I might tackle one of the Malazans.
I'm gonna I'm gonna start it in January of next year. I want to get a little more under my belt before I really go at it, because the way they talk is like you're not gonna understand it. It's super confusing. Just go with it. Once you finally start, once it clicks, like you'll start figuring it out. And like I've watched some videos on it where people are like, "All right, so you've got Reddit threads, you've got spreadsheets, it's like 1,000 characters in it, and and they're all go on like mini quests, and it's a bunch, but everyone I talk about is like it's just amazing.
I think the whole I'm actually a big fan of getting lost in the book. I want to be totally confused, because when it does click, like for example in Way of Kings, I remember being so confused from the first like half
500 pages for me before I got it.
Yeah. Yep. And then it clicks and you're like,
yep,
okay, I'm locked in. I'm a fan of this series. And that eureka moment is so satisfying. And then what you can do is you can then go back to the beginning of the book and say, oh, that was referencing that thing that happens in this thing, and that guy was then, oh, okay. That's that kind of exploring a new world, that kind of stranger in a strange land feeling is so satisfying with a new fantasy series.
Yeah. It's second book is large. Yes, it is. It goes from like 500 to 600 pages, and then after that, they're all like 1,000, I think. They're huge. So, but yeah, it makes me nervous for sure to do that, to give it a shot. But I want to read it so bad.
Well, Malazan actually, it started out as a D&D campaign between a couple of friends, and then
the other guy actually writes like the spin-off series of it, does he not? Because it's like two, like Steven Erikson and then his best friend.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Sorry, Bella, we're destroying your TBR. But...
Well, hey, Bella destroyed mine. What's up, Alex? Going on?
Hello, Alex.
I've got I'm fixing to start her. Where did I put that? The Sorrow of a Wise Man. I started in February. And I'm excited about it. It'll be I have not read any of the back. Bella, not sorry. Is it have you read any of it yet?
No.
Okay. Is it romantasy, Bella? Is that right? Because I think your other two are. It'll be my first one. Actually, I'm going to read, audio book, listen to A Court of Thorns and Roses.
Oh, okay. ACOTAR.
Yeah. I'm just for February, for Love Month.
Love Month.
Sorrow's not a romantic. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. Sexy face stuff. Yep. And after that, I'll have to go and read some more of hers for sure. Because
if you want to read it's not really romantasy, but there is a bit of a sweet romance in it, is Legends and Lattes, the Travis Baldree cozy fantasy.
Yeah. I have Bone Shops and Bone Dust or something like that.
Oh, Bookshops and Bone, the prequel. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've got it somewhere, or I don't remember. I thought I did, but yeah, I don't know if I can do cozy fantasy, to be honest. I have to have action. Like if there's not action, I get so tired. I attempted Babel, however you want to say it. The audiobook says Babel, but holy cow, I got 60% through with it. I'm like, I'm done. I cannot no more. There's nothing that goes on through the whole book. It's just like them going to school. I'm like, no. Halfway through Spricket. Oh, there we go. We just talked about that.
Eamon and Madge are the most wholesome characters in the book.
Mm-hmm. We all need sexy fae and great cups of tea.
I'm drinking a cup of tea in my on-brand Spricket the Bard mug.
Very nice. Very nice.
My fiance got that for me as a present last year when I published.
My great grandmother is from England, and I can remember whenever I was a kid, she moved over here to stay with us when she got in her, I want to say early 70s. And every day, whenever I'd get out of school, she would make tea, and we'd have tea. And I say crumpets, but it wasn't crumpets. My mom had texted me and told me what it was, but I can't remember what it's called now. But it's some kind of special like jelly filled cookie. And man, I remember
Oh,
that. I loved it. It was so awesome.
jelly filled cookie. That would probably be a jammy Dodger. Is that the one where it's like a kind of like a biscuity cookie and then like a red jelly in the
Yep,
center?
that's
That's a
it.
jam. That's a jammy Dodger.
Okay.
I solved the mystery.
Yep. Yep. It was oh man. I'll never forget those memories. That was, I mean, every time I'd get out of school, I'd be home at like 2:45, and by 3 o'clock, she'd have the tea ready, and we'd sit down and we'd drink tea and eat a couple of cookies. It was so good.
That was your great grandmother.
My great grandmother,
That's
yes.
such a privilege. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, my grandma, she moved over from England when she was really young, like probably 10ish. So, and they lived in New York, so they would go back and forth from England to New York, and then she moved to Tennessee whenever my grandfather retired from GM in New York, moved to Tennessee, and then I was born, and then from there.
Very good. Wow.
There we go. Gotta love a jammy Dodger. Absolutely. I love those cookies. And nothing goes better than dipping them in tea. I don't know if y'all do that or not.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
But
So are you like the social pariah of Tennessee because you like tea and biscuits? That's like the least American thing.
I could be. There's no telling. Everyone. I talked to somebody. The only one that's ever even mentioned my accent was, I think, Nick Horvath was like, and he played at like Duke, which is North Carolina, which now he lives in New Zealand, and he's like, man, I love the way you talk and your Southern accent. I'm like, I talked to a bunch of people. You're the only one that ever tells me that. I don't know.
Yeah. I think a very American term is to if anyone isn't American and they speak to them, they say, "Oh, you have an accent." It's like, well, everyone has an accent.
Yeah. Do they not realize the accents that are in America?
Yeah.
I mean, all the way from like deep down south, like like in the Bayou and stuff, and Louisiana has an accent. We do. Northerners do. Boston people have their own accent. I mean, it's just everywhere.
Yeah.
It's not like there's one for a whole entire country.
No. I think people think like Californian is the default. But
yeah, I think it's just because like them and New York are on the news so much because they're so big that people just hear it, and that's what they think everybody sounds like.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What's up, Lamia?
Hi, Lamia.
Oh, let's see. What do we have? So you said your favorite character in the book is Torque.
Yes.
What's your favorite line in the book? Do you have one?
My
favorite line that you wrote.
Oh, okay. I will be honest. I think. Oh, okay. You've put me on the spot here now. Because there's so many lines I do like. But I think it would have to be. Oh, I'm trying to think now. It's probably going to be the kind of epitaph at the beginning of the whole book, because I think it kind of sets the scene for the theme of the book, but also having like a bit of humor to kind of set up the reader's expectations. So this is the epitaph at the beginning of the book. It says, "Every song remembered through each instrument played, ancient bard proverb, author unknown, despite the incessant claims of Pavlo, taker of credit." So I think that just kind of sets the scene of because that saying is used many times in the book, and then afterwards it's just like a little bit of silliness. So I think that one definitely is my favorite, and that's not a cop out because it's one of the first lines in the book. That is genuinely a line that I'm very proud of.
I've always wondered, like on like authors whenever they're writing, like, do you ever, when you're sitting down and you're in the writing process, and you write a line and you're like, "Oh, that's brilliant." Do you ever get that? It's like, this is so good.
Yes. There is that moment, and you feel real smug. Oh, I am God's gift to literature, all that kind of stuff. Yes, you definitely get those moments, and they're great. And then suddenly you come back to it in the second edit, and you're like, "What the hell was I writing? This is terrible."
Yeah.
You change like 4 or 5 times. So
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm in the process right now of doing a buddy read with Lonesome Dove. I don't know if you've ever read it or not.
I saw on your channel it was one of your live streams. Yeah, I don't know
Yes.
what is that.
Okay, so Lonesome Dove is a Western. It's one of the, I guess you'd say it's probably the most popular Western book of all time. This
Okay.
one's like 900 pages. Well, anyways, I personally right now am not a fan of it. I've read, we're fixing to do chapters 51 through 75. And the writing style, I really like how he writes the book, but there's not much that goes on, it feels like. Supposedly, these next 25 are supposed to be just like nonstop action. But like he will go multiple pages. Like I've read it multiple times where he'll be like, so and so character or whatever is upset because someone didn't say they were sorry. And like you're talking like 3 or 4 pages of just his feelings because this one character didn't say he was sorry about something.
What year was it written?
The audiobook was in 1990, so 1984ish, 83, 85.
Oh, so it's not that even that old of a book. Because I was going to say
Yeah.
that's a very like classic literature way of writing. So I read. Have you ever heard have you ever heard of a writer called Henry James, classic American author, like 1800s? Oh, you okay?
My volume went out.
Oh, okay.
There we go. All right, we're back. Sorry.
There you go. Sorry. So
what'd you say?
Henry James, a very classic American author from like the 1800s.
I have heard of him. Yes.
Yeah. He's got a book called A Portrait of a Lady. I read it because my fiance did her dissertation on it, so I wanted to read the book before I read her dissertation. And there's like you turn a page and there's like 2 walls of text, no paragraph indentation, and you read this wall of text for 2 pages, and the summary of that is the main character was feeling a little bit sad that morning. And that's the takeaway.
Yeah. 1986 is whenever it was written. So
Yeah.
I just couldn't. Let's catch up
Yeah.
on some of this. Really, mostly I read my lines and think, wow, an idiot must have wrote this.
Oh my goodness.
Genius moments with the reading. Yep. Love.
Feeling genius.
Do you think people prefer fast-paced books? I know, yes, I do personally to keep my interest.
Some people do. I'm quite a patient reader. I'll give the author the benefit of the doubt if things are a little bit slow. Like for example, Way Kings is quite slow at the beginning, and then it really ramps up. Similar to the Wheel of Time books, they're quite slow. They ramp up. I mean, Robin Hobb books, the Assassin's Apprentice, that's just a slow burn of a novel. But it's excellent fantasy literature. That being said, I think if you're in the indie space and you're competing for attention, having a book with that bit of a faster pace is definitely the way to go. And that's something I'm trying not to lose sight of while I'm writing Spricket 2. Because I have to kind of remind people of what happened in Spricket 1, increase the stakes, increase the world building, but also make sure that things are moving along, because I don't want anyone to get bored. That's sort of my ethos there. But it's a fine balance, because you don't want it to be too fast paced where nothing feels developed at the same time. And there's certain books that are like that.
Yeah, I think that's my thing is like trying to, I guess because I'm such a new reader, to trying to figure out how to slow myself down and enjoy the slower moments in books, because some really catch me now, like the Red Rising book. Like I loved it. It's so fast paced. Like have you read it?
No, but I've seen it all over the place. It's definitely on my TBR. So.
Yeah, it's really good. So is it Zhao? Am I right? Silva.
I think it is Zhao. I've met Zhao in person. So yeah.
I make sure
he's
I want to say his name.
Of Smokesmiths. Yeah, me and Zhao, we met at the Fantasy Con back last October, and we shared like many whiskeys together, and we're talking about all things publishing. Yeah, that was a good evening.
too fast, and I'm lost. Need a bit of development and action.
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree. Yeah. So, but again, like I said, it's a fine balance. A fine balance. Yeah.
Be clutch for lack of character development. Yep. Well, others need a long, slow simmering.
Wingspan of treason.
Close enough. I try.
Yeah. Joao.
Joao. Okay. Yeah, you talking about Way of Kings and how it takes time. I agree. Like I said, I was 500 pages in, and whenever I was thinking about it, whenever I was reading it, I was like, I just don't know if I'm going to like this. And there's nothing, there's so much stuff. He threw so much stuff at you in the beginning, and I'm like, what is going on? I've read half this book. I don't have a clue about anything. And then something about 500 pages in, it just all clicks, and then everything just flows from there. It's crazy how that. I don't know why that worked for me, but apparently that happens to a lot of people in that. What's up, Molly?
Hello, Molly.
Hello. Have you got to read her book yet?
No, I haven't, but it's on. It's again. I see it's on my list.
Yeah.
Here's something. Everybody start writing good books for like a year. And let me catch up. Start write a couple of bad books, and I won't read them. Start writing the good books.
Yeah. It was. I think she had my indie book of the year. It was so good. That's a Dark Bloom, fantastic read.
Okay.
It was great. So, there we go. Yes, the list is never ending. Absolutely.
Ending.
Yeah. Because it's like even if every time you go to the store, you buy one probably or two, and then it's like, well, now I've got to read it and add to the list, and then it never ends, and it just gets longer. So,
do you series hop, or do you prefer to like read the series? Like let's say if it's a trilogy, would you read those 3 books one after the other?
Last year I did not. I read a bunch of book ones, and this year I made a kind of a thing to myself where if I start a series, I'm finishing it. If I like the book. And so I am going to finish Red Rising. I've got all 6 of them before whenever Red God comes out. Greenbone Saga, I'm going to start it this year. It's a trilogy, so I'll finish it. Same thing, but and just try to knock them out. What about you? Are you like that, or?
I am generally, but I've been trying to be I've been trying to read my fellow scribes' books that I've kind of got out of the habit of getting into series, because I read the first 2 First Law books, love them, they're great. But I haven't got around to the last one yet because I'm trying to read all these wonderful books that the scribes have written, and plus other indie authors. So but I will finish First Law this year. That's on my TV.
I read book 1 and loved it. That was one of the things I talked about it was when everyone talks about a grimdark, I was like, okay, when I go into it, it was my first grimdark book I'd ever read, and I was like, this is going to be rough. It's going to be a whole lot of really bad language. Going to be a lot of killing, a lot of, just like grotesque stuff. And I read it and I'm like, there wasn't any of that in it.
In fact,
I was like, maybe it gets worse.
It's quite a funny book. It's quite a funny book at times.
Yeah.
That I was so blown away by Abercrombie's ability to like write POVs really strongly. Like, this is the Bloody Nine, this is Glocta, just from the first line, and it's just expert stuff, and that's the kind of stuff I want to evoke more of in my future books. It's just like from the first line, which character it is, and it's masterful stuff.
He was the first one that I ever got that to where you literally don't. He wouldn't even have to put who said what, and you already know who did it or who said it. Like that was amazing. When that clicked for me, and I was like, I've heard people talk about that, but I didn't realize, you just say that. No, it's like you can actually know who says what.
Glocta for me might be like my favorite fantasy character of all time last year.
He's my favorite, especially in that series.
What a character.
Have you read the audio or listened to the audiobook of it?
No, I've not. I don't really listen.
Oh my gosh. You've got to. He's got a list in it. And it is so good. The guy that
fits so well with the character.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so good. Red Rising. Okay, let me give you a real quick thing. I was not supposed to start Golden Sun till February. I literally finished it on the way home. It is incredible. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
There is so much stuff that goes on in that book. It blew my mind how good it was. Lorraine, let's see, 2 or 3 books at once. I found out last week I can read 1 book at a time, and I can audio with it, but I cannot read 2 books at a time. With just page, I just cannot do it.
For me, I have a home book and I have a commuting book. So
Okay.
I get the tube into work. So that's like the subway, the metro. So I have a smaller book that I read on the tube, and then I have a bigger book that I read at home. That's how I kind of balance it.
Yeah. Third book is the best. There you go.
So I hear I'm definitely going to read it after Wingspan.
Yep.
Like this, I really hope not.
At least 3 at a time. What? 3 books at a time? I just can't. Can't do it.
No.
Moody reader, absolutely not. No, I seen where I watch like Chris Triple B, Bearded Book Beast, and his like weekly stuff is like, yeah, I've started like 7 books this week, and I've read like 20 pages, and like, no, how do you keep up?
I get overwhelmed. I would get completely overwhelmed. Yeah, well, I mean, more power to you if you can do it. But I just
absolutely,
you must have a higher IQ than me if you're able to do that.
I don't get that. Like some people can just remember it. I can't. I mean, there's just no way. Like if I want to like consume any of it, I cannot do that.
Yeah.
So what is this? 5 books at a time.
5 books, man. Yeah.
Why would you do that to yourself? Yeah, book envy when people. Yes, I do too, and that's the problem, especially with like BookTube and stuff. Watching other people, and they're like, "Oh, I just got this, and I got 17 new books, and every one of them's amazing, and like you should get them." And I'm like, I would be broke if I bought everything everyone's ever said.
Yeah.
So, have you read the Game of Thrones yet, or A Song of Ice and Fire?
I've not read any of them, only because I've seen the show, and I feel like I would just be reading the script of the show, and I probably offended everybody in the room by saying that, but no, I don't, and I also haven't read Rothfuss either. So
yeah, he don't really interest me for some reason. He might later on in my reading journey. I've not read any of A Song of Ice and Fire neither. I've got them all, but I've watched all the seasons, and it was a great series. But I still want to read the books just to see how different it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's the eternal meme of is he ever going to write Winds of Winter? That might be putting me off because like
I'm pretty sure he came out about 2 weeks ago and said that it wouldn't be finished. I think that was the thing going around, or he's like, it's probably not going to get finished. And I don't know why. Like, to me, it's like you could come up with just anything and people would be happy that it's over. I mean, I get it. You don't want to, but
you forget that there's one more book planned after Winds of Winter.
Yeah, exactly. So there's actually 7?
Yeah.
Books at the end of the TV. Really? Because the TV series was amazing, except for
well,
the last season.
The less said about that, the better. Yeah.
We'll skip that.
We'll skip that. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm interested in it to see the differences for sure. So, are you planning on putting out an audiobook? We're Spricket or
that is a great question. I currently have set up an account to set up an audiobook. I just need to find the time to sit down and write out directives around how to voice certain characters. But that's definitely on my list of things to do this year. And I'm just excited to see. I'm excited for the process. I'm excited to see what it's like. And the whole audition process and seeing how different people interpret the characters. So it's definitely on my list. I would love to do an audiobook. So because I think there's a market for it. People love like yourself. You
Yeah.
listen to audiobooks at work. So I think that there's definitely a market for it.
Yeah, if it wasn't for audiobooks, I would never get anything done. Just for the fact that,
Yeah.
I told you I drive 9.5 to 10 hours every single day.
Mm.
So by the time I get to where I'm going, I'm tired, and I don't have the brain capacity to read more than like 30 minutes to an hour. It's just, I get burnt out, and I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, audio, it's the way to go if you drive a lot or on a road or something, because some of it's so good. Like what is it, Jeff Hayes, I think, who does Dungeon Crawler Carl. Have you listened to Red? Oh.
No, I've not. Again, another one on my list that'll have that's going to be complete sensation. So yeah,
it's amazing. Like if you're into lit RPG at all, and which you play D&D and stuff, I feel like you would be. It is incredible, and he does all the voices when you hear them. It's so good. His Donut the Cat voice is just amazing.
I'll have to check it out.
No, yeah, you definitely do. It's great. So tell me, how in the world did you get to be a part of the Secret Scribes?
How did I get to be part of the Secret Scribes? So as I was writing Spricket and getting into the book Twitter, writer Twitter scene, I became pretty good friends with Ari Sanders, and he sent me an arc for his first published book. Oh, Bella, am I breaking the secret? Oh God.
Okay. Hey, nobody's listening. You're good.
Okay, so there was a blood pact, and
okay.
Beelzebub came down and said no. So we and then I read his arc, The Path of Blades. And I thought it was a really, really good story, and we just kind of helped each other out here and there with plugging each other. And then I think it must have been May last year. I remember because I was on holiday. I was on my vacation in Mallorca, and he says, "Yeah, we're setting up something like the Break-ins, but we're gonna." So we set up this unnamed group, and it was like myself, Dave Lawson, Bill Adams, Bella, Alex, Damien, Lorraine, and then eventually Lamia joined it. I think Greg was also an original, and then we were coming up with names, and then Secret Scribes was thrown out there, and then lo and behold, here we are, nearly about 7-8 months later, and it's been a great. We're a great little support network. We're always chatting away in our Discord to each other. The best thing we do is we kind of champion our accomplishments. So we have one channel where Rob would be like, "Oh, I wrote 1,000 words today," and we'd be like, "Yeah, good man, Rob. Keep up the momentum." And we share early excerpts of our writing, of book covers, of upcoming arcs. We plan giveaways. We plan different competitions. We're working on a secret project at the moment that I will not reveal the details of yet, which should be a good bit of fun once that is revealed to the masses. A really, really great bunch of people. And I've read the books I've read Bloodwoven. I'm reading Wingspan of Treason. I've read Garancho's Guardian by Lorraine. I've read Demon's Tear. I've read Envoys of War by Dave Lawson. And I've also read, the only Bill Adams I've read is this one, his sci-fi novella.
Good.
You'll breeze through this in an afternoon. It's a real fun bit of pulpy fiction. I mean, look at that cover as well. I know this is my live stream, but like this is a beautiful cover. Get that book. Yeah. A real great bunch of people, and I can't wait to dive into the rest of their books at some point.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, done so much since May. That is true, because whenever I started all this and somehow got a hold of Dave and he sent me his book and then he come on the channel, he was the first. Yeah, he was the first, because then I got his book and he signed it. And I told him, I said, make sure you were my first ever interview. And just from there, it's when I've read, his, and the Odelic Stone's done. I've read yours. Bloodwoven, I'm 75 pages through. Bella's coming up next, and then Rob is after that, and then I think Lamia may be potentially after that. Hers is a massive book.
Yeah, it's a massive book, but it's
Oh.
I'm about 100 pages into Wingspan, and I'm really digging it. So definitely picked it up. And honestly, Rowdy, I think we really appreciate as a gang your support of our little indie group. So thank you for everything.
Yeah, no, I'm just a lowly YouTuber. That's it. 5 books at once, right? Yeah, you're probably right. And that's the thing that gets me is like anytime like someone say sends me a book or whatever, or I talk to one of y'all and I'm gonna read, it's like I feel the pressure of reading the book and then either having it on channel or whatever, but then because you don't want personally me, I feel like okay, if someone sends me a book, I want to read it as soon as possible because they're kind enough to send it to me, and then everything else gets pushed aside, then you don't get nothing done, and it can be stressful. I can definitely understand some of that.
Yeah.
So, but there's no way that I could read 5 at a time. Not at all. So, like you said, what are you working on now?
What am I working on? So, like I said earlier, I am making my way through the first draft of Spricket 2, which is chugging along at an okay pace. I also have a wedding to plan this year, so that's taking up a lot of my time outside of work. So,
congratulations!
Yes, thank you very much.
Yep.
But I do have a novella that I'm planning to release over the summer that is effectively done. I'm just going to make some tweaks to it, and I'm also waiting for my cover artist to get some things done for me. But I think I had it here somewhere. Where did I put this thing? Apologies.
Oh, you're good. When are y'all getting married?
We're getting married. This is so unprofessional. Like lifting up my. There it is. It's under my laptop of all places. Oh my gosh, nice. There we go. I am there. Right. So we're getting married in November. So it's quite a while away. But there's still lots of little jobs to be doing, and bachelor party, all that really, really important stuff. So yeah.
My sister-in-law got married this past November.
Oh, very good. So this is the book effectively. It's called Checks, Balances, and Proper Procedure in Monster Hunting. It is a novella set in the same world as Spricket the Bard and Company. The world I've called it the Wavering Plain. And if you wouldn't mind, I could read the blurb here just to give you guys a sense of the novel. Yeah, so welcome to the Wavering Plain, home to many odd and wonderful nations. One such country is the Galzarian Empire, proud, defiant, and slightly paranoid, with plenty of paperwork to boot. Here, disagreements are more often solved with a quill than a blade. In this great empire, every aspect of life has the requisite laws, forms, and reports, and that includes monsters. For Rella Trattle, clerk at the Monstrosity Parliament, horrid tales of bestial encounters are ordinary and mundane. Monsters kill folk, monsters get slayed, forms must be filled, nothing surprises her anymore. That is until a seemingly routine case report lands on her desk, throwing hundreds of years of Galzarian statute out of the bloody window and causing a bureaucratical mess that she must solve alone. Rella is a master with ink and parchment, but it'll take more than that to unravel this star-blinding nightmare. So that is the blurb. So, little fun side story set in the same world. That will hopefully. I think you could read if you hadn't read Spricket, and if you have read Spricket, I think there's little nuggets of Easter eggs in there for anyone who's read that they'd be able to. Oh, I know what that reference is. So.
Okay, all right. Is any of the characters from Spricket in it? Or no? Okay. Absolutely. That sounds good. And you're talking middle of the year?
Middle of the year, yeah. Okay. I'm just I want to give it a bit of a longer promotional run, give my ARC readers a bit more time to read it than I did with Spricket. And I'm waiting on a few things from my cover artist, but once those come in, it'll be all steam ahead on the checks, balances, and proper procedure monster hunting hype train. So watch this space is what I'll say. So,
and then Spricket 2, whenever it comes out,
whenever it comes out,
2026, 2027, whatever, or end of this year.
Whatever.
Are you going to try to keep it close to same page count as the first one, or? Is it bigger? Or?
I will not know until I finish it. I always take the approach of less is more. So
Yeah.
I would be surprised if it's if it's that much longer than Spricker one. I don't want it to be. I want to again keep that kind of pace to it. You know, that I kind of like to envisage my books as like palate cleansers between the big epic fantasy tomes, like a shorter novel they can get through in maybe a week if they're that kind of reader. So I like. If I remember, if I remember self-publishing a 1,000-page Spricket book, lock me away. Something's gone wrong. I've gone mad with power.
That's the omnibus.
That's the omnibus. Yeah, exactly.
I can't remember what book it was, but I had seen someone had talked about it, where somebody had wrote a book that it was like 100 chapters or something, and it was like there's 1,000-page for every chapter, but it was all on one page per chapter, and I forgot what it like. How could you think of doing that, like to work? And it's like precise, like everything is like 100, or it's 100 words per chapter, and there's 100 chapters, and then there's 100 pages, or something like that. It's weird. Like, how do you write a story like that?
With great diligence and probably a touch of madness, I would say. Yeah.
That there would aggravate, like, just trying to, okay, I need to lose, 3 words here on the, to make it. Okay. Ducks Newport.
Oh, is that the book?
Okay. Maybe it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, what are you reading right now?
I'm reading The Wingspan of Treason by Lamia and Vine, and it's a really really kind of it's like a meal of a book, like a gourmet meal of a book, just real beautiful, eloquent prose, and a very unique, interesting setting. And I'm only about 100 pages in, so I can't really say much more about what's going on in it. And but what I have read of it, I'm really enjoying, and I can't wait to get into it a bit more. But other than that, what I've read recently before that is Wind and Truth, which I'll say nothing more about, and then before that, I read a couple of Scribes books, which is Bloodwoven, Envoys of War. What was the last? I think what else have I read? And then I think that's kind of the most recent books I've read. What I'm planning to read after Wingspan will likely be probably the last First Law trilogy. I really want to read a bit more, start the Smokesmiths, which is Joao's series, and I think that's kind of on the horizon for me, and then obviously more Scribes books. So
yeah, so I just finished The Odelic Stone. It was really good. I really like the setup for the second book of it too. I think it's going to be awesome. And then I've not read any of the Smoke. What was it?
Smokesmiths?
Yeah. I've read. He has sent me ebooks of those, so I'm eventually going to start them. But have you read his little, like, if you sign up for his newsletter, I think it's called The Dead Man or A Dead Man.
Oh no, I don't think.
It's 20 pages. That's it, and it is really good. Just for 20 pages to get like a way that he writes, I was very impressed.
Yeah. Okay. So, very good.
Let's see. Sean needs post Wind and Truth therapy. Hey, I'm not a fan neither.
I was
very disappointed.
I was ranting. I was like old man yells at cloud. That was me. Me.
There's stuff in that book that has not been brought up through any book he's ever wrote that made no sense in adding it. And then, like I said, it is about 300 pages too long. In my opinion. Have to bully Alex into writing it. Yes. Alex is going to be on the channel in, I think, a week and a half, somewhere around there.
It has a wonderful cover of the Odelic Stone. I need to definitely check that one out this year.
Yeah. And then, really, you will love the Smokesmiths. I hope so. Yep. The Hearts. I plan on reading it hopefully soon because it sounds awesome. So I think
Have
it's
you
going
heard
to
of
be good.
a guy in the? I think he's in the FFA gang. Ed Crocker.
Yes, I have his book as well, Lightfall
Yes.
on ebook. I've not read it yet, but it. Oh, I want to read it so bad too.
Yeah, he's he's an editor. He edited Spricket for me
Oh, really?
and the novella. Yeah, he's a
Okay.
line copy editor, so
Okay.
he's very good at what he does, and will always leave little nice comments of appreciation for a fun part of the book
Yeah.
or whatever. I think we're big fans of Ed over the Secret Scribes. I think he also did the same thing for Lamia's book as well.
Okay. Have you read any of Lightfall at all?
No, it's on my
No.
list. So again, on my ever growing endless list that will bury my flattened paper. So
Yeah. I was. Whenever he was talking about, I think it's what vampire. Like, there's no humans. It's like vampires, werewolves, and sorcerers, and it's like really action packed. I'm like, oh, that sounds right up my alley. I may need to do that.
absolutely, that sounds great.
Lightfall is brilliant, excellent. Well, I will eventually get to it. J&J Minton. Have you ever heard of? You've heard of Talking Story? Have you heard of the YouTube channel?
Maybe, yeah.
John Minton. They sent me their book. They just the EPUB of it, and it looks really good as well. It's like a horror novel, I think's what it is. So I'm interested in reading it too. That's the problem, is there's just so much I want to read. It's just all so good. So
No,
I've not.
true.
There's only been two books that I've ever hated, or I say hated, really disliked. And I told you, Babel, however you're going to say, it's one of them.
Yeah,
It's so bad. And I know that's blasphemy because a lot of people love it, and I can't. There's nothing. If there's nothing going on, I can't read it. I just can't.
yeah, agreed. I think that's such an important part of like the author psychology of people potentially buying your book and never reading it.
Yeah,
and you kind of have to like get over it in a way, because once they buy your book, it's theirs to read or not to read. They can read it in a week. They can read it in 10 years' time. The book is on their shelf. They'll get to it eventually, or they may never get to it. But either way, it's a hard thing to get over as an indie author, because you expect, oh, well, this person bought my book, so they're going to read my book, but that's not always the case.
Yeah. 100 releases this year. Come on now.
Yeah, we do. I'm releasing Spricket 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
Are we going to do the 100 words per 100 page, 100 chapters again?
Yeah, it's actually going to be 10 words, 10 words. Chapters.
we can, and then you can put out the omnibus of it all.
Yeah, exactly. And then Spricket 7 goes crazy. They go to space. Yeah, so
it goes to space. That would be good. I could see him talking and playing the lute in outer space. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Nice. Definitely. Yeah, and leading them all into a black hole.
So you had told me earlier that you kind of got the idea of Spricket through playing D&D. Are you a gamer at all? Like anything?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. Obviously, the gaming has taken a back seat in my free time when I'm writing. But sometimes basically my day is either I write before or after work, and then I don't really have much time. Obviously, I want to spend time with my fiance. I want to spend time with friends and family. So a lot of my free time is just writing. But there are some weeks where I'm feeling just like, oh, I'm working and I'm writing. I need to give some small break, and I do play games. So yes, I grew up with gaming. I had all the consoles growing up: PlayStation, Nintendo, Xbox. So yes, I do. I have the old soul of a gamer, but not necessarily not really a big one currently.
Yeah, I'm about the same way. I've played everything, which we have the Xbox Series X, and then I did have a Steam Deck, but I got rid of it to get a laptop, and I kind of halfway regret it. And then my son is really looking forward to the Switch 2 when it comes out sometime later this year.
I love my Switch.
So,
it's game changer.
Yeah, it is. And so the thing I like about it is it's small. my hand, I've got big hands, so it kind of hurts my hands to play long. That's why I like the Steam Deck so much. But I'm hoping it looks like the Switch 2 is going to be a lot, or I say a lot bigger, quite a bit bigger. So hopefully
Bigger, yeah.
that will help.
Looking forward to that one coming out. Yeah, but
and on the other side, people have their own taste too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Like, yeah, some people just think some people just are not going to vibe with your book, and I've had people not vibe with Spricket. I've had people, friends of mine saying it wasn't really my thing, and that's okay. That's okay. It's not everything is for everybody, and but someone out there likes your book. So
yep. Dual wield with a baby. Absolutely. I didn't have any of that stuff when my kids were young. I wish they're still young. They're about to be 11 and 14, but still.
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
Have you played any like what is it, Baldur's Gate 3? That you're a D&D fan?
If I play Baldur's Gate 3, I'd never write a book again in my life. I'm avoiding that game. That will take up so much of my time. So I'm limiting myself to shorter experiences. So a game I played recently on my Switch it's called Animal Well. It's like a puzzle platformer. Have you heard of a YouTuber called Video Game Donkey? He does like comedy YouTube videos about games.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's like one of the biggest kind of YouTubers on gaming. But he set up a publishing company, and he published this one guy made this game called Billy Basso. And it's like a Metroidvania type game, in like a retro style, and it's a really fun puzzle game. You'd be done in 4 hours. That's perfect for me because I'm done, and then I can get back to writing. I'm not like stuck in like Baldur's Gate 3 for 700 hours of my life. But I will play it eventually. But I've got other priorities at the moment.
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at now, to where it's more on like just stuff. What do we got? See you, Bella.
All right, enjoy feeding your air.
Yep.
May they live 1,000 years.
Yeah, I couldn't play anything long, and then by the time I ever got to get back to it, it was always like, what am I going to, then it's been 3 or 4 days, so I don't remember anything. So now I'm basically just stuck on playing like sports games and stuff like that, where I can get a game or two in and be done. Now, Avowed comes out in 2 weeks, and I really want to play it. So
yeah. I don't have a PS5, so all I have is the Switch. So yeah, I don't. Well, I don't know it's too big. I don't know where to fit it in my living room. It's too big.
Yeah.
PS5.
Yeah, so I'm gonna play it on Xbox, I guess, because of Game Pass. So it'll be good.
Yeah, a game that I think probably had a hand in inspiring the writing for Spricket is probably the Fable series. Have you ever heard of those?
Oh games? Yes, I can't wait till the new one comes out this year. I think.
Yeah.
Oh man,
they're that kind of just like silly fantasy.
Yes.
Setting, like a lot of that definitely had inspiration on me as well. Very fun series, very funny series.
Kicking the chicken, and then what was it like? Farting and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so wild. Exactly. Which, what do they call it? Is it British humor? Is what it's kind of based on?
Yes, like Monty Python kind of humor in a fantasy setting, which again isn't dissimilar to Discworld, which is quite that kind of silly British kind of ironic kind of humor that they love. So yeah.
So I've only got like 2 questions left, and they're more they're more for me. So what is your favorite book that you've ever read?
I've ever read. Okay, fantasy, non-fantasy, just a favorite.
You can do one of each if you want to.
Okay, so favorite fantasy book would probably have to be a tough one. I would say probably The Lies of Locke Lamora. It is very good. It is a perfect novel, and I need to read the sequel.
I've read the first one, and that's it myself.
Yeah, I didn't want to read the sequel because I was like, I don't want to pull too much from it. I want to kind of write more and then go back. Same with Discworld. I don't want to read too much because I might start pulling from it and writing in their style. Mm-hmm. But yeah, what a book! What a thrill ride of a book like Loch-na-Mora is. And then favorite overall, not like non-fantasy novel. Okay, this might seem like a bit of a I don't know, pretentious answer, but it would have to be probably A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. It's for me, I only read it a couple of years ago, but I've never read a classic novel that read like a modern novel in the pacing, the action, the stakes, and really fun book. And actually, you know how a lot of indie authors now, they'll like post weekly chapters in Royal Road or something, and then release an omnibus at the end. So Charles Dickens was the first author to do that model. He would publish weekly chapters in a magazine, and then at the end of he would publish the omnibus, and that would be a full novel. And so, and the thing is, at the time in like kind of 19th century London or the UK, like that would be the water cooler talk at the office. But like, oh, did you read this week's Dickens? Oh, wasn't it really good? And that's just like talking about this week's Game of Thrones or this week's Severance. So that was kind of how the culture worked back then, which I find really interesting to like read about. So probably my favorite overall novel.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I've been wanting to read The Count of Monte Cristo.
Oh, that's one on my list too. Yeah.
I actually got it from my used bookstore, but then I realized once I got it home, I think I paid like 70 cents for it. But it's like the abridged version where it's like way. I thought it was a huge book, and this one's like 400 pages, and I'm like, I know I've seen one where it's like, I'm talking like massively thick. And then I talked to somebody and they're like, yeah, you didn't get the whole novel. Like the whole thing's like over 1,000 pages. I'm like, okay, that makes sense then. So I definitely want to read it, which it's supposed to be, well, one of the best books ever written, I guess, the way a lot of people talk. So I definitely at one point want to give it a shot because I've never read any of the classics or anything. And there is a few of them that I'm interested in. So
I think what surprises me about reading a classic is finding like a passage or even a whole book that just reads so contemporary and sort of being surprised by that, because some you might fear it'll be like really boring and the prose will be very old fashioned, but actually in a lot of cases it can definitely surprise you. So I would say to people, don't be afraid of reading a classic, because you could have a really good time with it.
Yeah. Well, let's see. The only other thing that I have would be, what book would you recommend for me to read?
What would I read? Read Spricket 1 again. No, just kidding. I would recommend that you read. Can I give you 2 recommendations? Can I give you a Secret Scribe recommendation and a non-Secret Scribe recommendation?
Absolutely.
Have you read Demon's Tier?
No, but it is right there.
That's
it will be read.
That is the first in Rory Sanders's Jantakai saga, and he's working really hard on his follow up. But it's good fantasy. It's that kind of a modern spin on classic fantasy. And if you like your maps, he's got a heck of a ton of maps in his book. Different towns and countries and stuff. So yeah, it's a real fun start to what I hope will be a great fantasy saga.
Yeah.
Then pivoting away from Secret Scribes. Oh, I don't know. I think I would say read Guards. Get into Discworld that way.
Okay.
Read Guards. It's an easy read. You'll breeze through it. And hopefully it gets you into Discworld, because it's a fun time.
Okay, I will definitely give that a shot. And then obviously Demon's Tier is coming up. Would you read what is A Path of Blades first, since it's shorter? Is that part of this, or is it separate?
I would say it is quite separate, although Rob might be the best person to ask on that than me.
Well, I'll ask. Whenever he comes on the channel, if I haven't got it read yet.
You could read either in any order, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
He knows his weapons. Okay.
He does. He has his own sword that he flaunts.
I've seen on like some of his pictures and stuff. Oh, I mean, I like the Pratchett book. So I will definitely have to give it a shot. Like I said, I tried Small Gods and it just wasn't for me. But this was like 10 months ago, so I was just starting reading, and I
Yeah.
was like, this makes no sense to me. But now that I know more, I'll know like kind of where to start and stuff. So that'll be a lot better. Well, that's about all that I have. You've got anything you want to say, plug, whatever?
I would just say, number one, thanks very much, Rory, for having me. It's been a great. This is flown by. It's been a great conversation. We've touched on many topics. I would just say, yeah, follow me on Twitter at O'Boyle Writes. I'm also on Blue Sky with the same handle, and also Sean O'Boyle author on Instagram. Again, this is my book, The Ballad of Spicket the Bard and Company. It's available in paperback and Kindle currently on Amazon. So please pick up a copy if you're that way inclined. And then I have my novella, Checks, Balances, and Proper Procedure in Monster Hunting coming out later this year, which hopefully people would also enjoy. But I know that's all for me. And obviously, Secret Scribes, read the Secret Scribes, check us out online. We've got lots of fun stuff coming up and stuff already out.
All right. Well, thank you very much for being on, and thanks everybody for joining us today. And y'all have a fantastic rest of the evening or afternoon, wherever you're at. See y'all later.
Thank you.